Well, welcome back to another episode of the 6 Minute Obsession. My name is Dr. Mark Kosman, and I'm your co-host. I'm the co-founder of the Professional Practice Builders Society, and I'm here with your host and the star of the show, Mr. Rob Graff. Rob, how you doing this morning?
Good morning, Dr. Mark. I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. And I take it, Rob, we are talking about the future today. So just again to set the stage, we are doing a 12-minute episode here. We are talking about the 6 Minute Obsession because you lawyerly folks are having to bill in tenth of an hour increments. So we're going to take two two billable units here to
Point two. Yes.
Point two. Oh, that's right. Two would be 2 hours, right? So
Yeah.
point two billable units of your time because I'm affectionately calling our show, Rob, pain relief for the legal profession. I don't know if you like that tagline or not, but it just sort of came to me that that's kind of what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
So today we're talking about the future. So let's talk about what that really means.
Well, it's kind of interesting because the future is defining your past as well and looking back at visioning what your future was by looking at what you thought your past was going to be. It's really defining who you are and what your values are.
Mm-hmm.
And what your talents and gifts are that you bring to the world. In my mind, everyone's unique. You, me, even if we were the same person, we couldn't offer something the same way because we are our own person. So it's really defining who you are and the best parts about you and what you can bring to the legal field. For myself, a little story. I recently was going to write a blog piece about my last litigation case and how I was never going to do litigation again, and I made it. I put a stick in the sand. I said, this is it. This is my last case. And I took another litigation case after that. And I thought to myself, well, why did I do that? And I looked back and had an opportunity to define who I was. And looking back at my past, and if you'll indulge me for a second here, I wanted to be a police officer. I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be a prosecutor. I wanted to be an attorney who did what he did, and then I wanted to be a coach. And I realized that along the way, everything that I wanted to do helped people. And my main goal was actually helping people. And looking at that and defining that I am someone who helps people, I was able to understand why I keep taking litigation cases and how to take the best litigation cases that fit who I am. So it's looking at the future and seeing, where do I see myself in 5 years? Where do I see myself in 1 year? And taking that, but really seeing, well, who am I and what do I have to bring and what do I have to offer to the world? And that'll help define your future by looking at your past and what you really wanted.
And let's pull it together a little bit too, Rob. So I love these topics, and I'll dig in with you a little bit in a second. But how does this, this defining who you are and really starting to tap back into why you do what you do, how is that going to help me with this TikTok in my head? How is this going to, start to shift my relationship to this kind of oppression I'm feeling about billable hours?
Because it's looking at your values, and your core values are all that you are based on. It helps you make the choices that you have to make in your life. So by defining what your values are and therefore who you are, you don't feel a dissonance between the reality that you're living and the things that drive you to be who you are. So
Mm-hmm.
Let's say an easy example, because it's work-life balance, is that being at home, being with your family is an important value for you. Family is an important value, but you work, let's make it 100 hours a week, which I'm not, that could work. Let's say
it happens, right?
It happens, yes. So let's say you're working 100 hours a week. You're going to feel that tension between your values of being with your family and that tension of being at work.
What was was it last week we were just talking? What was the out of the mouths of babes quote there? Well, do lawyers have weekends, or what was that line?
Do lawyers even have weekends? Yes.
Yeah, it's great. It's that's an eye opener, right? It's
it is, yeah.
A child holding a mirror up to you saying, do you really value family?
So by looking at those values and saying, I value family, I value respect, I value my time, I value physical health and physical well-being. I mean, I value success. By determining what your values are and making them I am statements, saying I am my family and I am success, by seeing that, by seeing those core values of who you are, you can vision what your future can be where those values are aligned with the work that you do.
Mm-hmm.
Or at the very least, you can choose one value over another. One value is more important than the other value. Let's say you have two competing values, family and money, and you're working these 100-hour weeks, and you say, look, I need to work 100 hours per week because I need to provide for my family because I have 4 kids, and I have a mortgage, and I have 2 cars, and I have coming up college payments. You could say, look, the value of money is more important to me than the value of being home with my family, and that's okay. That's okay to choose that value, and once you've chosen that value, you'll feel better about it because that's the choice that you've made, and it's a conscious choice, and that's what you're really trying to get to.
Right.
But it all starts with visioning what you see your future being, and how that future is going to pan out for you.
Well, I know even for myself, Rob, I find it, one of the things I find that is sort of like this psychological trip up, both, and I think this applies both to the time issue as well as the money issue, is that, when we start talking values in the future, and it starts to get a little fuzzy sometimes. It's sort of up at this high level of planning, and the actual measurement of time and the actual number of dollars in my bank account is very, very tangible. And there's something very sticky to the human mind, I think, about things being tangible. And so even though we say we have value X and we have this vision of the future, it's very easy to start in your day-to-day grind to get sort of tripped up by, okay, I got to measure this, and this leads to this number of dollars, and I've got to save for that, the mortgage and the college education and all of these things. And so we start to not live the values by accident of the mind, by sort of fixation on the measurable, right?
Well, yeah.
Would you say that's part of how this evolves? I mean,
well, that's a part of life.
Yeah.
We all get tripped up by the day-to-day basics of how we have to live and the tangibles of how we have to live. I always find it a little sidetrack, a little bit difficult to sometimes convince people that legal services should be paid for.
Yeah, exactly.
But because it's not something tangible, I'm not building a house.
Right.
But
right.
At the same time, we have to reaffirm what our values are, and by defining what they are, we can reaffirm them every day and say, all right, well, yes, I need X number of dollars in the bank account, but I think it was at a Professional Practice Builders Society meeting where it was said, if would you rather be happy? You might not ever make all that money, but you can be happy at the same time.
Right. You can be happy along the way, even. And that's the other hard part, is that can you find a way to be happy on the journey, even if your destination is to make a lot of money, or because you've defined making this particular financial goal, are you going to be miserable every step of the way of the journey because you're not there yet? I mean, you brought up my little example last week of this revelation I had years ago about lateness, right? I mean, that if I'm trying to get to a meeting and I'm late, the normal way that I would in the past have experienced that journey is that I would have been miserable and stressed the entire way from my house to the destination, or from my office to the destination, because I didn't realize that in my mind I was trying to catch up. I was trying to undo the reality of having been late from the get-go. The revelation I had is if I can be late and accept my lateness, I can actually still enjoy the journey because I'm already late. I mean, it's already a foregone conclusion. I can call ahead, text ahead. So it's the same thing. Can you separate the journey from the destination and not define your present moment as miserable because you've not achieved your goal? I mean, if you could achieve your goal in the snap of a fingers, you'd need a new goal anyway, right?
Right. And the hope is to make the journey the destination.
Yeah.
And to really just say we're on a journey.
Now we're getting Zen-like, aren't we?
Right. I know. A little bit of Jack Kerouac is being thrown in there. But the point is really, you have this vision, and you have the vision, and you define who you are in this vision. And then you take the steps to eventually try to reach it while aligning it with your values and the who you are and the I am statements of who you are and why you do what you do. And that really includes defining what your gifts are, defining what your talents are, defining why you went to law school. I didn't realize why I went to law school. I went to law school because I thought I was going to be a prosecutor, and that's what I was going to do forever. Well, how many years later? 3, 4 years later, it's not what I'm doing.
Right.
So really, it's about defining, why did I go to law school? Well, what's the real value of going there?
So Rob, give us a quick tip here. When you're working with a client, or even when you're working with yourself, where do I start to get myself out of where I've tripped up on the practical? Give me a real quick tip for starting this process of re-envisioning my future. How would I start?
Well, it's closing your eyes and being in a quiet room and taking some time and saying, all right, let's say money wasn't an option. Let's say time wasn't, or money wasn't an issue, or time wasn't an issue. Let's take them and blank them out. Mm-hmm. What's your vision? What do you see yourself doing?
So literally visioning, closing my eyes, and really trying to paint a mental picture is a good starting place.
Exactly. It's the starting place that I used when I started on this journey myself.
Okay, great. Well, listen, folks, 0.2 billable hours goes by very, very fast. There's a reason that you feel this pressure of the clock, and we're feeling the pressure of the clock to stay honest to our promise to you to only be, 0.2 billable hours. So we're going to wrap this up at this point, Rob. Our episode is coming to a close all too fast, but to be continued. So my invitation to you is to come and engage with Rob at the graphstandard.com. And you can actually take advantage of a very generous offer Rob has to do a 30-minute consultation with you free, so you can learn whether coaching is right for you, and he can help you get back on track to enjoying your life as an attorney. But each of these episodes is also on the graphstandard.com or graphstandard.com. There's no graphstandard.com, and you can subscribe. So I encourage you to subscribe to the show. It's only 0.2 billable hours, and we're going to take some of this pain out of the legal profession. Mm-hmm. So join us for the next episode of the 6-Minute Obsession.
A good one.